everybody, God Almighty. This is the Sweat Equity Podcast, coming from Cigar City Studios in the Toco Works office. I'm your host, Law Smith. Sitting here with me, trying to get Facebook Live going on his phone, is entrepreneurial advocate.
I'd say it's fair, yeah.
Trey Steinhoff.
Yo, yo, yo.
So that voice you're hearing is him working on it while we're starting this, because both of us, well, I have a time crunch, but I feel bad if you've got a little bit of a time crunch with work, because we're 2 days away from the startup weekend in Tampa.
Right.
So that's like, I've been on big kind of festivals and not so much this startup weekend kind of stuff, but trade shows and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot going on right now, and so I was like, well, why don't you come on? Let's talk about it. But we want to make the marketing side of me just goes, why don't we make a push on Facebook Live through y'all's page,
Sure.
and we can just set up another camera over there, because Facebook Live it's definitely already hit its saturation point as far as annoying the shit out of people.
Yep.
Except people watch. It's weird. Like, I did a radio interview 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Sure.
And it, I've been doing this podcast we're coming on about a year, and I haven't been consistent as of late because I'm trying to figure out how to weave it into this entrepreneurial endeavor, which is our consulting company,
Sure.
Tocobaga, and then we have a newborn that's 2 months old as of yesterday. So it's kind of hard to be like, hey, hon, I need an hour. An hour with a little bit of padding to get it published, push it out, all that stuff.
Yeah.
When she needs some rest and stuff. So I'm a pretty good husband, you could say, and father.
I don't like to brag. I like to not have baby giggles in the backgrounds of my podcast.
Yeah. Well, we do have we do have a window over here, like a radio station. We could put him in there. But I'm still on red alert anytime he's kind of crying. I'm like,
right.
Shit, So when I watch him overnight, I sleep like Anne Frank. So the startup weekend.
Yeah, I'm.
You having trouble with this?
Yeah,
Let me see it.
I don't have the app, and so I have a hunch that I'm gonna get.
You don't need the app, do you?
I might also have a very broken phone screen, so that'll do the trick.
Oh, so you have a broken phone screen, so that means you party.
That means that I am irresponsible with my phone.
Well, fuck it. Just do it from your personal if you don't have that, I didn't know you had... So Facebook Live, I've been messing with it. I did a radio interview.
Right.
And a day or two afterward, I had more... And I was like, well, if I'm doing this radio interview, I might as well just Facebook Live it. It's an AM radio thing, so, it's not like it's a huge radio show.
Sure.
And I had more people talk to me about that than this podcast over the last 3 months, in a day. So
Curse you, Facebook.
Well, there's some merit to it. I think vocal people, I've thought about it way too much, but I think people will be vocal about it. It'll annoy them. They'll talk about it, but I do think there's a whole. It's kind of like Trump winning the election. It's like we thought Hillary was clearly. I thought she was gonna landslide.
Yeah.
I thought it would be 70-30, really.
Me too. I said 10-point margin.
And so she so it's kind of like that. We're we all think Facebook Live is kind of annoying maybe if we're really into being on Facebook a lot and
Right.
And kind of are you done?
I think I'm gonna give up, dude. I've never done this before, so I'm trying to learn here. I've got photo, life event. We could get married on Facebook right now if you wanted to.
I'm already taken.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know Samsung. Maybe it's your Samsung.
Perhaps.
Let's see, post.
I really do think it's because I'm not using the Facebook app.
Right. Yeah.
Because dude, I was a late adopter of the Facebook Messenger. I try to avoid being on Facebook all the time, and so I saw Facebook Messenger as just another thing to suck you in.
Yeah.
And I swear every time I went to send a message on Facebook, you would be prompted to download the Messenger.
Yep.
And you would have to desperately try to click to close this little advertisement. I felt like they were deliberately
It's
trying to make the button that you had to push as hard as possible to push, and just constant annoyance.
And I do a lot of Facebook advertising,
Right.
and they're starting to advertise in the Messenger.
Right.
It's interesting. So that's kind of crazy. Well, I mean, everything's trackable, right? So
Right.
if we're talking about Startup Weekend, we might get an ad for Shark Tank.
Right.
You know, if it's like a big brand awareness kind of campaign.
You're right.
But they did I was pissed about it too, because you're like, oh, I'm gonna hold off. I can wait on this.
Yeah.
And then now, man, it's become so integral in a lot of what we do work wise,
Right.
and from people you wouldn't expect getting a hold of you via Facebook. And so it's one of those things where it's like, well, I guess I have to download this because doing stand up too, I get people who are like, give me info last minute because they don't have my number.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, I use Facebook events more than anything else. I try to avoid, stalking Facebook and worrying about my own content and all that jazz.
Yeah.
I'll put that other places, but Facebook events is the best resource that I have found to figure out what the hell's going on in Tampa.
really,
Yeah, I actually used to work for an app company that would consolidate events. You'd pick your interest and they'd list it off to you or whatever. But as most B2C companies go,
well,
crash and burn. But
the app game's tough. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I haven't found another solution that works as effectively for the kinds of events that I want to go to as Facebook events.
Yeah, Meetup's not really there. So I try to explain this a lot to clients, like a marketing strategy. And so events are similar. It's
Right.
more project-based, really,
Right.
because you have a date. And so I go, like, it's never going to be one thing that's going to really work. Like, we can't just do Facebook event and hope people show up.
Yeah.
So we need a MailChimp email list. And then we
Doing
need
that today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't schedule it out, man?
I've done a whole bunch, and now I'm just going to do – I think I'm going to do like a big mail merge right now to get around that spam filter. I think that I'm going to cheat the system here. I'm not going to do –
No, they'll tell you to do that. You should do that.
Yeah, I think
there's no system to cheat. MailChimp wants you to do that.
Really?
Yeah, the more data you're giving them.
Well, I'm not giving them I'm taking the data out of MailChimp.
Oh,
and doing a one-to-one email mail
that
merge.
kind. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that there's that way of doing it too.
Right. I'm worried that Google might flag my account for bulk sending from my personal Gmail, but I think I'm willing to live with the repercussions. It's about a 1,500 person list, and so one, it'll take forever, and two, Google does have some upper thresholds. I learned about this recently because our company is dealing with this because it's built into a product, and so it's going to be funny to see if I am prevented from using email for the rest of the day after I do this.
So let me see if I can troubleshoot how to work around this, because I'm pretty good with this stuff on the fly.
Cool. And if you want to troubleshoot the Facebook Live thing, I encourage you to do it on your phone, and then I'll share it through my page.
I can't. Well, I was trying to fuck with it on my phone. I think I'm getting a bunch of rings while we're sitting here.
Sure.
That's going to interrupt the whole thing. And it's almost dead.
Yep,
So
that'll do it.
I know there's a charger around here, but I don't want to like fiddle around. I can fill the air with my blowhardiness, but I feel bad leaving you on your own for a couple of dead minutes.
I can fill the air. I'll sing a tune.
So, well,
do my Facebook plug.
What were we just talking about? So
No
emails.
worries.
If you want to get around that, I think this is the way you could do it. You can send 25 at a time,
Sure.
right? I think
Through a mail merge or
through Gmail.
Oh, you can send a lot more than that, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. How much? What is it?
I don't think there is a hard limit as to what you can send, but if you do exceed this number, which is 1,000 to 2,000 over the course of a day,
Yeah.
I think that they will do something to throttle you or punish you or something like that. They can't do, in like a one-to-one email, you can't send out, maybe 25 is the limit for at one time, at this timestamp, 25 can go out.
Mm-hmm.
But what we do is we stagger them, so they're
That's what I was gonna say.
chunks, yeah.
So use Boomerang.
I use Streak. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that, but I like giving out these little cheat codes for anybody listening.
Yeah.
Streak, Boomerang. It's good to schedule a lot of emails. I don't know if you deal with a lot of that kind of BS, but it's always like you have people that are freaking out. That are like, we need it now, and you're like, ugh. So I like to write. I go offline. I take the Wi-Fi off.
Right.
I write all the emails, set them up, and then I'll schedule them out once I put Wi-Fi back on, because I'll get distracted if a Slack message comes in, a text on iMessage app on my desktop. So I've been using that do not disturb function.
Right.
I don't know if Samsung has that, but that's that thing of like schedule those out, because the more you reply with some people, the more they kind of take advantage of you being quick.
Right.
So sometimes you'll see that email, you're like, I'm going to get to that when I get to it. But sometimes I just want to knock it out, schedule them out, and just let it wait.
Right.
Because there's a point. I don't know.
Yeah, something that I've kind of been struggling with is what you touched on, which is you are constantly being barraged with notifications, people reaching at you in different directions, some of them important, some of them not, some of them urgent, some of them are just, someone wants to be your friend and have a casual conversation. It is hard to balance that. I'm still working through it, and everybody has their own system. I tend to leave things as drafts in my text message box for a while. I'll leave things as unread in my inbox, but just prioritizing your time accordingly.
Jumping between mediums makes it difficult for me.
Yeah.
So I have clients that only really know email.
Right.
Anybody that's on a commitment or code for retainer.
Right.
We just don't like calling it a retainer because it makes people think of lawyers.
Right.
But anybody that has like a 6, 9, 12-month commitment with us, I say, hey, here's the deal. You have to use Slack. That'll be the only way unless there's an external person outside of my business and your business. Email's fine for that because we can't bring them into Slack and then kick them out.
Sure.
Like an email. So I try to push that and make that a priority. So I've had to think about this a lot. So then I'll check that before I'll check my email because I know my email's all external. I'll check our Toco Works Slack group.
Right.
I'll check all my clients and just check in with them, see what's going on, give them updates if I have any, or drop any kind of deliverables in there.
Right.
Then I'll get to email because it's usually not as urgent.
That makes sense.
And the good ones are always like business development, but for us that takes a while anyway.
Right.
There's not a lot of people that I've talked to that understand this world.
Oh yeah.
And it takes me
your ear off about that. Yeah.
Well, hey, we got mics, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something the kind of messaging that and kind of educating people on this stuff and how it works. And I'm not doing the job I want to do right now with that.
Right.
And so what have you dealt with that?
I'm curious about your Slack experience. I haven't used Slack for business. I've used it to organize my events, and I've used it for groups and all that jazz. So I'm guessing you're setting up private channels per customer to interact with you.
No, I'll set up their own workspace.
Okay.
And you can use the quick jump button when you get over like 9 or 10, and it fills up the left side too much.
Got it.
Yeah, and I keep that because I want that compartmentalized too.
Sure.
I want our private stuff because when you're going really quickly and you're trying to message your group, I'll create like a Slack channel for that client that we can talk internally.
Okay.
So I'll put a freelancer on there. So let's say I have a web developer and a graphic designer. I'll add them in as guests to a channel for, let's say, client is Lion Indian because I see we have a picture over there. So our client's Lion Indian. And
nice.
so we'll make its own workspace. And me or my partners need to be the client-facing people.
Right.
The independent contractors we're using or subbing out, they don't need to talk to the client ever.
Yep.
But we need to talk to them. So I use ours as internal communication, but also communication with freelancers we use.
That makes sense.
So you're software-ish kind of guy.
Right.
If we brought you in as a project, hey, we want you to collaborate on this, you also don't want to talk to the client.
Yeah.
So our client services part that's how we're trying to figure it out.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then you just have to beat it in your head. Like a lot of apps, productivity apps, my problem is I'll learn 30% of them and then won't
give up. Yeah.
Like I use Evernote religiously, but I'm not using it to the best of its ability.
Right.
Like I'm taking notes while we're doing this. So when I do the podcast description, the episode, I can throw it up there.
Yeah. So question, first off, real quick, is there a paid version of Slack that you're using?
Yes.
Okay. Making sure. Second, I think that what you're saying about switching back and forth between platforms is, I think, a huge direction that a lot of different companies are going to try to head. I mean, it feels like if we're talking about Facebook, they've swallowed up like 3 different forms of social media into one thing. And if we're talking about software, my company in particular, KiteDesk, we're trying to be that. We're trying to be the place where your business development rep, doesn't have to bounce back and forth between 5 different channels to make their calls, send their emails, log all of it, record their progress. It's all going to be in one place. And so you can save time, and it's an easy pitch to a manager, right? You say you lose, your reps lose X amount of time during the day, which costs you this much money because they're trying to learn 6 different pieces of software and bounce back and forth between all of them. You can buy KiteDesk, not only increase your sales, but save a bunch of money at the same time.
So that's what y'all's company does? That's what?
Yeah, so essentially it's a business development platform that kind of helps you create predictable pipeline. So the entire outbound process can be housed in KiteDesk. You can do your emailing, your calling, your actual lead gen. If you need to do some prospecting and go out and find people you want to reach out to, you use KiteDesk as a medium to search through a bunch of these big-ass data providers. You can choose your ideal customer profile. We'll bring that back. And once you have that record and you have the contact information you care about, we give you one place to, make all of that outreach happen, and then record it, shoot it back to Salesforce automatically, all that good stuff.
Hold on. We got to stop right there for a second. That's the beauty of podcast. Because I have a couple calls from my wife, which means there's something going on. So 1 second.
Problem.
I'm going to press. Boom. We're back. Yeah. That was weird. Speaking of notifications, like, we're trying to figure out daycare situation. And it's one of those things where it's like, we have to do this because we got to get this done in like 3 weeks. And then you have Thanksgiving coming up.
Oh, God,
and the pressure's on. This shit's like expensive. And there's a sense of urgency because there's only like, I think they do like the Amazon almost out of stock. What's it called? False scarcity.
Almost out of people that can respectably watch your child.
Yeah. And so it's that thing of like, we're kind of I blame myself because I should have looked at this a long time ago, but I had to like, when the wife calls like 3 times in a row, I was like, ooh, this could be an emergency. So, what's it called? Speaking of notification, like I have my Fitbit on because I'm a dad.
Yep.
This is like a dad watch. And that buzzes every time you get a phone call or text if you have Bluetooth on your phone and you connect it. So like I'm trying to talk to you and I was feeling it. I didn't even have my phone buzzing.
Right, and all of a sudden you're multitasking.
And I was like, yeah. But I mean, that's not a big deal. That's why I like doing the podcast, because if you have to start and stop, you can.
Right.
It just kind of interrupts flow. But what were you going to ask?
So, originally we were talking about KiteDesk, which is totally separate from what I was just looking at my phone, and I kind of want to put some distance between KiteDesk and what I was looking at my phone. But back on that topic, it's business development is a weird world, and I think a lot of it has to do with timeliness. And so, my question for you is, all of your internal communications running through Slack, right? But you've got these potential leads, prospects, whoever they are. See that big whiteboard over there? Yep. That's how I've broken it up for us. You can see the phase 1, 2, and 3. That's the actual work we're doing. Right. And then to the left of the phase 1 is onboarding. And then before that is all the business development stuff. That's the marketing funnel. Got it. Yeah, I've been obsessing over this stuff. Yeah. So we like, again, going back to like the apps and stuff, we've been using Pipedrive, but we haven't been religiously using it. Like we haven't beat it in our head yet. Yep. Pipedrive can go into Proposify, but we haven't set up Proposify correctly. Is that like a DocuSign kind of thing? You can use it like that. It only allows one signature, I think. So we have, since our stuff we do a lot of services and we have to kind of define them. Sure. Because one of the other phone calls I was getting while we were sitting here is my attorney, because she's going to mediation because I'm sure y'all have had to deal with this, because when you do nerd work and it's in the ether, it's not tangible. People think they don't have to pay. Yep. So I have to be on call for that, which is in a couple hours, but she still needs some stuff from me. Right. But speaking of which, I have the whole Slack chat. Yeah. Because I own it.
So it's a little bit of a legal recourse too.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't mean for it to be that way. I just would start it just to get things going, and then now I have it as record.
Right.
So, but I will tell you on the legal side too, if KiteDesk can kind of do this too, it has been a pain in the dick to do like get all the text messages from him, like him and I back and forth before I blocked his calls, and then get the call list, then get all the Slack channel messages back and forth, then the emails because he was still sending emails. I had to get all this stuff together. You know, I wasted like 5 hours just.
Right.
And then I had to make a chart.
It hurts. They'll just listen, honestly.
Then I had to make a chart to explain like what social media marketing and management is.
Oh God.
And so like I was like, he would drop a photo in Slack, then I would take it, I'd make it better, I'd overlay his logo,
Right.
I'd write copy, I'd schedule it for the optimal time, then I check on the reporting to see how well it did.
Sure.
And I took out the part where it went to different sources. So Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest is what a lot of people should use if they're visual.
Got it. So I'm gonna guess. You know, you can plead the fifth here, but I'm gonna guess you're chasing someone down for some money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, technically, I own the brand, so
Got it.
you know we could just pull all, and I own the Facebook page and all that stuff. So,
Right.
you know, you won't really know who I'm talking about because I got 3 of these going at once.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what you call in the business development world. That's a unqualified lead.
Yeah.
I think I put trust in
Oh,
the people that referred them
Oh yeah.
a little too much, and that I'm learning that lesson the hard way. But I wanted to see how this bad debt would go, and so I haven't had to chase it for this company, and then all 3 of these just happened at once.
Right.
And so I want to experience it more than anything. I could have done. It's more than $5,000. We're doing small claims.
Right.
It's more than that, but I was like, let's just do that because I want to see what small claims is like.
Okay.
And how much time I spend, you know, so I have that in harvest.
Yeah. How much time the lawyer spends?
Yeah, well, theirs is flat, and then our contracts have it where you have to pay the lawyer's fees once you lose, because you will lose because we do everything we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have proof of all of it, if not in triplicate. My dad's an attorney, so I've kind of I've been around this world my whole life.
Good habits, yeah.
He's not that kind of attorney, but my uncle. I've been around attorneys my whole life, all his best friends. So it's that thing of just like, plus, you know, we're still small, so it's like you have to be a little bit like people that were getting bunkers made if Hillary was president. Like, you have to be a little crazy about it because this is how you get screwed. If I didn't have anything, we'd be really fucked. Yeah. And then it'd be sunk.
So how did the lawyer dad play into the comedian aspirations?
I don't know. Contrarian thinking, maybe. I'm good at looking at kind of both sides of an argument.
Right.
Obviously, I've been thinking about this stuff a lot lately because it's like, you know, how am I going to explain to someone that doesn't know me to do business with me and how I kind of perceive things, because I think that's important in that business development stuff. And so my mom's really funny, though. They're both funny. My dad can be silly, but also if everybody knows him as just a very sincere, modest guy. Sure. And then my mom is just very funny and witty. So it's a good combination. And then her and I used to watch stand-up when I was growing up.
Got it.
You can hijack this interview all you want and interview me. I'll do it all day. So tell me about business development, pulling all that stuff in, what y'all are working on.
Absolutely. So pulling that in specifically, I think that it's really fascinating, the process of trying to win someone's like heart in the beginning of the process, how you're going to cement your brand into their mind as something that's trustworthy, worth their time, especially if you're doing an outbound sale. How can you convince someone to take their time to chat with you? And that's what our product does, and that's what our SDR team does. I'm not an SDR myself, but
what's SDR?
So sales development, business development, same thing.
Okay.
Right. So
there's too many acronyms now.
Yeah, God.
So I just ask all the time.
But we recently the CEO, his name's Sean. He's rolling out.
What's CEO? No. Go ahead.
He's rolling out this new process. So there's all kinds of sales processes out there. Like BANT is a popular one. I don't even want to try to attempt what that acronym means, but it's all about identifying really the opportunity when you're in that initial call or 2 calls, right? You've got to appeal to them in some way, that first interaction. But after that, you have to tactfully do your research to see if this is worth your time while also kind of showing them value, right?
Yeah.
And so he's developing this 4-letter acronym called NOTE, and it's need, opportunity, team, and effect. And so in the call,
sorry,
it hurts, right?
Uh-huh.
It's in the call, he's essentially having a really blunt conversation. His approach is the opposite of the tricky salesman or anything like that. He wants to really have a conversation about whether or not your company even needs a piece of software like KiteDesk. So you'll open the conversation with, what are you guys currently doing for outbound prospecting? How's your team keeping track of stuff? That kind of stuff. Why did you decide to take the meeting in the first place? There's probably a need, but I'm hoping you can explain that. And so we're not going to avoid saying what we're doing. We're going to say, we're trying to figure out if there's a need.
Yeah.
And then we're going to say, all right, well, is there an opportunity? Is this something that's like timely, or do you guys really care about it right now? Is the upper management on board?
Mm-hmm.
And then need, opportunity, and then team. Obviously, you want to figure out who needs to be involved in the decision-making process, who's going to be using the product, and then effect is what's your desired outcome? Like if your desired outcome for using KiteDesk is totally contrarian to what we do, or if it's just barely on the fringe of what we do, we're willing to say no to the deal.
Sure.
We don't want to make anybody buy a piece of software only to be disappointed, especially as a SaaS company, right? You've got to make sure that your expectations are set from the very beginning. Otherwise, they're going to dip out, they're going to write a shitty review online, and then they're going to go use your competitor.
Can you explain what SaaS is for everybody?
Sorry, yeah.
No. This is why.
Yeah.
Because I can, the contrarian thinking, I can be a nerd, but also just a dur.
Yeah, no, that's fine. SaaS is software as a service. So, it's the big craze in software. So essentially,
it's the new. So I think SEO is the most misunderstood thing online. I try to explain to people, and then I think SaaS is coming in pretty close now.
Number 2 or 3 on the list for sure. So SaaS, software as a service, essentially you are selling cloud-based. I don't think I need to explain cloud-based services to businesses, right? So they can use it for X amount of time. You're selling them a subscription, and so largely. How much you succeed and what the value of that deal is hinges on how you help them throughout the course of their time using your software, because they can dip out as soon as they're ready. And so in the sales process, we want to be super transparent. We want to make sure that we're not misleading and that what you expect from us is actually what we can deliver. Otherwise, it's just going to come back to bite us in the ass throughout the course of the year, and when you're going to go curse us out on G2 Crowd or something like that.
I don't even know that one.
Yeah.
Well, so it's about filtering. Does it make sense? Now, I do the same thing because I get a lot of people. I'll take a 15-minute call with almost anybody.
Right.
Because you never know if there's a good idea and they really have no one to talk to. Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs that are one-man teams usually. And so, maybe they have funding, but they don't know any of the other parts. And that's kind of how we got started. We had one client that was like that. So that's kind of been my philosophy is like, it's not hard to talk to someone for 5 to 15 minutes in the car to see if they're legit. But a lot of people aren't. A lot of people don't know who to ask too. So I don't know if y'all do this, but when I'm like, I don't think you're ready for us yet. But here's a couple of places you can go to like get some like patchwork graphic design. Go to Fiverr and just do that.
Right.
It's not going to be the best, but at least it's going to be way less expensive than what you're doing. Then I can't sit down with you and go over a whole branding creation
in
under like $5,000.
Yeah.
If you really want to do it right. And branding's more than just a logo. It's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of people just think it's a logo.
Right.
So, I'll have all these resources ready to go. Do y'all do that? Or other companies sometimes.
Right.
Hey, this company over here might do this on the cheaper, and I don't tell them, they didn't ask to be a kick down partner.
Right.
But
you're just good faith, goodwill, I guess.
Yeah, I'll give them like 3 or 4 things. Like, here, go check out this company or this one, because I think that's more in their wheelhouse. That's not going to work for us.
Right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that approach. Honestly, I'm sure that there are some hardened sales guys that would scoff at giving people the names of your competitors after you realize they're not a fit. But I think it's the best thing you could do, because then you're going to hopefully lead to a positive outcome for that particular person. And maybe it'll come back to you in some way, a referral. Maybe they decide they don't like those other services and they're ready for you in the future, whatever it might be.
We don't really have a competition sheet, like a technical one, like
right.
what every company should do. But that's also / like future collaborators, because we will fill in the glue for a lot of like PR companies or ad agencies or business coaches or anything like that. We'll come in and kind of fill in like, okay, you need these 5 services.
Yeah, that's clever, yeah.
So it's like, it's never like in town. I think one of the companies doing the best is Spark in Tampa. And it's something like we look at and we go, we want to get to that point.
Right.
We're not, it's like I saw Jim Gaffigan and he used to talk about seeing guys when he was doing stand up and he's like, I'm not there yet. Like that.
Right.
I want to get there, but I'm not there yet. I got to figure it out. But,
right.
But he got to the level. It's not like he just hated on him. It's like, who knows? You may do a sitcom with that guy.
Yeah.
You may be peers. You may do better things that way too. You may do great things that way. So
absolutely.
Well, I want to ask about Startup Weekend.
Yeah, we should probably do that, right?
Well, but while I have you here, I've been having trouble with this, and maybe you know something I don't.
Right.
Because I try to trade nerd notes with a lot of people.
Sure.
I call it. I have a preferred partnership of people that I have like a operations consultant. He's been on this show. His name's Nick Snap.
Right.
So when I need like kind of help, like, hey, does this Gantt chart make sense for this project? He'll give me some notes, or he'll be like, you should really use Asana. You should be doing this, whatever. I'm trying to figure out how to make if there's a software out there, and if it's embeddable in a website, even better. So this is kind of the criteria. Kind of a quoting calculator, because we have so many variables.
Oh.
I don't want to get into a SaaS-related thing, because my wife is a data analyst and knows SaaS and all that, but we don't work well together.
Right.
Because my thing is like, we do such custom work, and it is very client-facing. So I said the 3 big things are price, quality, and then speed. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of the 3 constraints, but they all move, and price is.
Yeah, I really don't have a recommendation for you, but man, I don't know.
I'm gonna have to make it. I think I've been doing it in Excel, but that's not great.
Just put like a macro or pivot table or something in your website.
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, in the website would be great. It's not necessary, but it's just about getting these quotes out, because we literally can provide, I don't know, 70 services. So it's like, and not everything should be at our hourly rate of $186.50.
And you got to come pitch that at Startup Weekend. I think that there's probably 1,000 companies that would use something like a quote calculator online if there's not already one.
Oh, we're working on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give it away on the podcast, but I mean, anything we do that's hard as a company internally, that's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because I know, and I've talked to, if you go back a couple episodes, I talked to Fran from Advantages.net, the CEO over there, who's like us but bigger, and they're in Queens. And afterwards we had a meeting. We've been staying in touch, and how can we help each other? They might kick down work to us because we're small compared to them.
Sure.
And I want to share notes with them, because there's no template we can go off of. I'm sure it's the same landscape for y'all.
Sure.
Software companies, development companies, I should say, because software sounds old school, and it sounds very 90s based.
Right.
But I feel like development, it's the Moore's law. All this stuff changes so much. But we don't have anything to go off of. I use a law firm model, actually.
Huh.
Because that's the only thing I can use as a template for client-facing kind of business.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so I talked to them about, hey, do y'all have a calculator? Do y'all know anything? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, I'm wasting a lot of time.
Just making it up.
No, I mean, I know what it is. Yeah, I mean, I do a margin of error.
Sure.
So it's like, I think it's going to be within 10 plus 10 minus 10 hours.
Sure.
Hours is our unit of measurement.
Right.
But not every hour is equal.
Right.
Like programming is
a little bit higher
way
paid
more.
than
Yeah.
logo design, probably.
Depends.
Yeah.
And it also depends on iterations.
True.
Like I'll use the logo design. We'll give you 5 concepts, 3 rounds.
Right.
But that's it.
Right.
So you got to come prepared. And the further back those rounds go, you better know what you want that meeting.
Right.
And then that's all you get is the concepts and then one crack at it.
Right.
Because it'll
applying the pressure, man. Jeez, I'm sweating over here.
It'll go on forever.
Yeah.
I've had those already. Bad debt or just shit that just goes infinity amount of rounds, and once you cut it off, you just created a bad experience.
Right.
So similar with trying to hawk the KiteDesk stuff.
Yep.
It's like you got to lay it out up front.
Yeah.
But I got to be friends with everybody.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's interesting, man. I would love to have you guys come out and pitch that idea and build it and sell it in 54 hours. I think that would be sick.
So is that how the weekend rolls? So
yeah.
Friday.
Have you been before?
No.
Oh man. Okay.
Remember, I was like, you got to make me a judge because I'll talk shit to everybody.
Oh yeah.
I'll make it funny.
Man, when you get to those guys, get to the point of those guys you were referencing earlier, you can be a judge. You got to keep working hard, man. So.
I got more clout than anybody on your judge panel.
Yeah. I think Alex Sink would agree with you.
What is she? Alex Sink.
Oh no, we've got a few awesome people. We've got Alex Sink, the CEO of TriBridge. His name's Tony. We've got Greg Ross-Monroe, who's the head of a development shop. And so when I say development shop, I mean they develop custom software as opposed to one kind, like KiteDesk. And then we have Ruben Pressman, who's the CEO of Check I'm Here, who recently closed a ton of money from Vinic and a whole bunch of other people. So
yeah, but you got to entertain the people, man.
You're not wrong.
Yeah,
quite frankly.
I'll be the Simon of it if you need. I'll just be a hater and roast everybody.
That'd be awesome. Oh man, I'm trying to think who on my panel would be.
You also need an everyman too. I can. That's what helps me with a lot of this work is I can, in stand up as well, is I can think how I observe human behavior,
right,
and I can't turn that off,
right.
And so it's like, a lot of people can't think like the normal person. Yeah. Like I'll be like, here's why this ad won't work. People flick on their phone like this. Right. Okay, this is how it goes. So if you want to do a grid design, that's cute. That ain't gonna. You only have an inch by an inch or whatever.
Right.
2.5 by 2.5.
Makes sense.
So
got to be thinking about other people's psychology along the way, whether you're entertaining or designing an app.
It's all business. That's all what business is. It's human behavior. It's human psychology.
Absolutely. Completely agree.
So I keep cutting you off, but
no, you're good. So those are the judges, but basic structure. I'm not sure how quick this is going to get out there, but it doesn't really matter.
I'll put it out today at some point so we can get the word out.
Awesome. So Friday night, which is tomorrow night, we're having it at the Cuban Club in Ybor. You show up around 6:30, so all you working folk out there, you can show up after work. We'll have dinner. We're gonna have some drinks, very casual, from like 6:30, 7:15ish. Then after that, introductions, and anybody in the audience who bought a participant ticket can then pitch an idea for 60 seconds.
Okay.
It could be, somewhat in the works like your idea, or it could be something you came up with on the spot, like when you were stoned last night or something. It doesn't matter, right?
How'd you know?
It could be anything. And I'm actually a savant of human psychology. I could just tell by your body language that.
Or I look like Spicoli.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
either way.
That helps. But anyway, so essentially you get 60 seconds to pitch, right? And if we have 100 people come out, we find like 60% of the people pitch are ballsy enough to go up there and say something. So that's 60 ideas all in a hour span. We put all the ideas on the wall. Then all 100 people in the room get to vote on the best ideas. After that, we're limited down to 8 to 12, depending on the voting. There's no like hard number. It really depends on the attendees and the voting and the ideas. And so by the end of Friday night, we have 8 to 12 pretty cool ideas, or at least that's what the audience thought. And everyone in the audience is somewhat talented, right? Developers, designers, business folks, marketers, people that are motivated enough to go to an event like this in the first place.
Yeah.
And you organically break up into teams based on those ideas. So we're not going to mandate anybody goes to one team. You're going to have that conversation with the guy who pitched it. You're going to see what they need. If they're a marketer, you probably don't need to join their team if you're a marketer, right?
Yeah.
So then you've got, by the end of Friday night, 8 to 12 ideas, 8 to 12 teams. And then for the next 54 hours, you build your business from the ground up. So minimum viable product, marketing campaign, branding, business development. You're going to go out and try to make strategic partnerships. Most importantly, the very first thing you're going to do is validate the idea to make sure it's not stupid and that there's actually an opportunity out there. And so that's the thing we preach first and foremost Friday night, and then Saturday morning is going out and
what's that schedule like? So you get up early?
It's intense, dude. So right now we've got the venue closing at 3 a.m. We might push it to 24 hours, but people will leave Friday night with their teams, go get some sleep, come back. Venue opens at 8:30. We're not going to mandate you're there, but if you want to win, $15,000 in prizes, you'll probably want to be there. So people show up around 8:30 or 9, and then after that, you're going to kind of do your customer validation. So you're going to learn a little bit about what makes for effective customer validation. Don't ask leading questions. Don't send out surveys to your mom and dad. Go out and talk to the people that will probably be your customers. Figure out who your ideal customer profile is, and then ask them questions that are conversational and assesses the need and the opportunity, and then work from that.
Okay.
Right? And generally people do that. They talk to 100 people by around noon on Saturday. They come back, they assess it, they decide if they need to change the idea. When I participated, after we did our customer validation, we scrapped the entire thing and just started from nothing. So that's your schedule so far. Saturday around noon, lunchtime, we're going to bring some people in from Hillsborough County Libraries. They're going to give people access to all of their databases so that they can go through and search, do market research, figure out like the estimated value of this idea, do whatever kind of demographic search you want to do. That's going to be thrown into a pitch later on. But then we bring in actually really, really great mentors from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. So these are lawyers, UI and UX designers, developers, business people, entrepreneurs. All of these people hands-on work with the teams for about 6 hours or however long they're available, and kind of walk with them through their business model, their idea. It really depends where the team is. Someone might have to scrap their idea and start from fresh, and the mentor will help them with that. But maybe someone's got a great idea and they need help with logo design. Then they're going to get a mentor.
I want to do that part. I don't want to do the judge anymore.
Okay.
I want to do the mentor.
It's
part.
a little bit cooler in my opinion, honestly. You kind of
that's what I do. I walk in and go, "You're doing all this shit wrong." Here's how you fix it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's essentially what they're doing, honestly. And hopefully they're qualified. Sometimes we bring in a lot of really great people, but not all of them are prepared to work with people that are in that early of a stage. So you'll bring in somebody who's got a lot of like corporate experience, and they'll try to mentor, and they're just speaking a totally different language. They do not know how to work someone through like a business model canvas or ask them like the basic questions when you're getting started. So you got to be able to do that even if you're a expert in one particular field. Sometimes those people aren't ready for it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I think communication with, because this is a lot of developers, right?
There's definitely a good amount of developers. I would say the majority are not developers, though, honestly. We've got enough developers to go around for the teams, from what I've seen from the signups so far. But generally, it's a wide spread of people. A lot of them are business folks, or people just with ideas that want to start something, and they need those developers. They need a designer, and they're willing to put in all the hard work for the sales and marketing and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, not to pitch myself even more, but I think one of our things here is about communication and finding that empathy with whoever you're talking to. So I'm going to talk to a programmer a lot differently than I'm going to talk to my client.
Absolutely.
I'm going to talk to a graphic designer, and I'm going to be real strict on them because they're flaky. I'm going to be real engineering kind with a programmer because that's the way they prefer to get that message.
Yeah. I feel the same exact way, man. I think not to like, boost my ego or anything like that, but when you were talking about looking at things from both sides, I feel very similar given how I was raised. I had like two parents with very starkly different ideologies, and I went to like a school that was largely surrounded by one ideology. And so that environment kind of made me kind of look at different perspectives, how you communicate with people. I was like bullied as a kid too, so you're always thinking about human interactions and what you're doing if that's the case.
Or obsessing with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that you're exactly right. people that win in business are people that can figure out how to work the people that they're in contact with the right way. Everybody's got to be communicated with and managed different if you're in that upper level position too.
I'm 50 feet wide and an inch deep. I can hang with everybody, but it's like you got to manage them and get them done. Get the stuff done that you need to get done. Absolutely. And so it's kind of quarterbacking a little bit, but you got to pull them in, be a pulley manager, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to run this event too.
This sounds dude. This sounds awesome. I can't believe I didn't ask further when you were telling me about it at the Fuck Up Nights, Tampa 3.
It's coming up again. We're only halfway through the weekend, and you're excited about it, dude.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. Okay.
So
keep going.
We've got these mentors coming in. We're going to give little talks, right? So first one's market research, give you some resources. Second one is minimum viable product. Mm-hmm. So we're going to bring in these guys that are experienced developers, someone who's managed like an accelerator program. So great guys. They're going to give a 7-minute talk, kind of like Fuck Up Nights, where they're going to describe what a minimum viable product is, MVP, to people that don't know in the audience and in your audience. They are going to talk about what role your MVP is going to play in the weekend, and then they're going to let you know how to build it, what resources are out there to make wireframes, things like Envision and all those companies out there that help you do that stuff. Then 6:30 or 6, we're having some dinner, and we're going to have a talk on branding. So we're going to bring in this awesome graphic designer we know that's going to kind of talk about developing your brand identity, how you can do something that's going to fly for the weekend. This guy's won a bunch of startup weekends, so your branding doesn't have to be perfect in a weekend, but it's got to be good enough to win over some judges.
No perfectionists in this thing, because
exactly.
you'll fuck yourself.
That's exactly right, dude. People get real testy. You got to be able to move quickly and walk lightly, I guess. But after that, dinner. During this time between these talks, you're just working hard, figuring out what you need to for your team. Everyone's got different needs. And then we'll have a little bit of a pitch practice at night, 9 o'clock, and then all the way until 3 a.m. when the venue closes. People are just heads down, working, doing what they need to do. They're going to have their judging criteria. They're going to know what standards need to be met. Come back on Sunday in the morning, keep working. We've got official pitch practice. And then by 5 o'clock, we bring in our judges. We bring in the general public to come and check it out. You get a 3 to 5 minute pitch and then Q&A. It's going to be a lot more official. You have a big presentation and all that stuff. And we've got, I think, like $15,000 worth of prizes. First place gets like $10,000 worth of co-working space, legal counsel, all kinds of like mentoring and like lunches with CEOs and stuff. Just great connections. All the prizes are geared on helping you actually continue with your business. We're not going to give you like a tablet or like a gift card at Chili's or something like that. All the prizes are geared towards you continuing on and doing this thing. Yeah.
Well, it's that teach a man to fish kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Because it's cool to get that stuff, but you give them the advice. Like this year, I've learned so much about the legal side of everything we're doing and how to help my clients with advice and like who to go to for an attorney and how much that costs and all that stuff.
Right.
That knowledge alone is like insane. Like that's especially with startup stuff because it changes so much and it's hard to protect. So I always tell them like if it's an app, or software sometimes where it's like it's a great idea like Uber and you got to get it out there because just be the first one out there, be bigger, find funding, be bigger, and then someone will come in and try to do the same thing, but try to outbeat them all the time.
Right.
You know, it's tough because people want to try to patent. And I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be hard to patent something like an app because it'll take 2 years probably.
Right.
to do it
fast.
So like, just worry about being bigger and beating everybody that could potentially come up. This sounds awesome. How about we do this? Maybe not. You don't have to come next week, but maybe the week after that, you come back, do this podcast.
Absolutely, yeah.
And tell us how it went, because I know you can't Facebook Live it.
Right. Regrettably, dude.
Are y'all?
There goes all that sweet Facebook likes.
Are you doing? That's currency, man.
Oh God.
You should hear comedians talk about
like
it.
Throwing up in my mouth.
So, but I want to hear how it goes because we're at an hour.
Right.
And I've got some stuff to handle, but
no problem.
But yeah, I want to hear how it goes. Are y'all doing any video? You should, man.
I think we've got photography out there, but I think we're gonna try to get a videographer for the actual pitches. You're gonna be there though, right, on Sunday night?
I'm gonna try. Yeah.
I think I got you a ticket.
Yeah, you did. Thank you. Yeah. No promises on that, but yeah, I think I'll probably be there.
Cool.
It was in my calendar all weekend, and I was like, I don't think I'm
Yeah.
going to this all weekend.
Yeah. So just show up at anybody else too. You can show up at 4:45 on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Pitches will probably be around until 7:30, 7:45. We're gonna have a food truck rally after that. We're gonna have the prizes be announced, and we're gonna have a bar. We're gonna have local art, local music. We're gonna have little vendors. We're gonna have a big old party there at the Cuban Club afterwards. So
That's where I got married, man.
yeah. Oh, really?
Well, I mean the reception, but yeah.
That's awesome. Did you like the top floor?
Yes, sir.
Oh, dude, that place is gorgeous.
Looks like a place out of Batman. Like could be in Gotham, and you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll get some weird nostalgia feelings when you're there.
No, it's cool. It's a cool spot. We wanted to do it because it is old history Tampa, and it's like
Right.
it's kind of when we got married about a year and a half ago, so it was a little bit more undiscovered because they're renovating it and stuff. But
Right.
it's I'm glad you're using that place. I love it.
Yeah, we're excited about it. I was really concerned about the internet, but I got Frontier to boost it up for us.
Where can people go to get tickets if they do listen to this and want to do it? Where plug it all?
Yeah, so Facebook.com/Startup Weekend Tampa has everything that you might need. There's all kinds of things that will convince you to go if you are not already convinced. If you want to go directly to our event site, you can go to bit.ly/SW Tampa. That's bit.ly/SW Tampa. That's where you'll find more information, the prize details, all that good stuff. We got a great promo video online too.
I always plug. What do I search to find it?
Oh
Just
God!
Startup
I
Weekend Tampa Bay.
I would just do. If you were just going to search, just search Facebook Startup Weekend Tampa.
Okay.
Because the SEO for the site is absolute garbage. It's running through.
Let me help you all with this shit the next time around.
Startup Weekend is like an event hosted by a much larger parent organization.
Sure.
The parent organization acquired a different company that originally ran Startup Weekend. So now all the websites are hosted on this company that got acquired, and so it's a nightmare for trying to get your stuff out there.
But SEO aside, I'll show you an ad before you leave. I saw last night because I don't prepare for this show, obviously, but I did see that and start thinking about how we talk business, talk shop. Thanks for coming on, and then maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, we'll do lunch again.
Cool.
With no food.
Yeah, the week fucked up.
All right, bud. Thanks.
See ya.